Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, anime, music, food, video games, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with H, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tavi. Hello, Tavi.
How are you doing after a break?
Yeah, it's good to be back, fully recovered, and none the worse for wear. You might notice that my voice is a little bit more gravelly than usual.
Yeah, we were saying before that you sound more like a man now.
Yes, finally.
There's this punsy voice.
Been waiting a long time for it. But no, thank you for filling in for me last week or 2 weeks ago, depending on when this gets released.
Yeah. No, that was fun. It gave us a reason to kind of introduce that segment that, maybe I might do off and on, really. There's I think I might have mentioned that there's not really a schedule. After that, I guess it's like we've covered a lot of fairly obscure stuff.
Yeah, I guess this is going to come off the heels of our big Oscar episode, right? So I guess this will be a bit of a change of pace for our listeners anyway.
I guess we decide to. I mean, we balance shit out. We talk about some mainstream stuff. Well, I mean, I wouldn't even really call Eternals obscure. In fact, it's not obscure at all.
No, it's just that nobody watched it.
It's just that nobody watched it to the point where it may have been an obscure indie movie. But yeah, today we're talking about Disney Pixar's Turning Red, the most controversial film released this year so far. But we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, at the time of recording, this has been released on Disney Plus for maybe about a week now, right? Straight to Disney Plus.
There's a bit of controversy with that.
Is the controversy that Disney hates Pixar for some reason? Because they did the same thing to Luca.
Oh, was Luca Pixar as well?
Yeah. And I think that's a pretty good film, but, you know.
I haven't seen Luca. Yeah, okay. No, I didn't know that. I thought the last Pixar movie that was released was Soul, which I actually really want to watch.
Was that straight to streaming as well? Soul's pretty good.
Soul was straight to streaming.
Yeah, I feel like Disney just hates Pixar, so they don't want people to go to the cinemas to watch it.
It's a shame because I actually generally like Pixar movies because they've got a style.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Has a lot more substance than usual Disney stuff. Yeah,
I feel like they're more adult friendly than Disney films typically.
I'm actually scared of watching Soul because I feel like, from what I've read, it feels like I'm going to have a major existential crisis.
It's watching that. I mean, it's there, but it's not going to blow your mind or anything. I don't think it's fun. Pixar films are fun generally.
Yeah.
They do tend to get heavier than a Disney movie, I guess. Inside Out is fantastic, right?
I think Inside Out is probably my favorite Pixar movie. Gets really deep. I remember watching it in the cinema and I was like, man, this is pretty good. It's fun, but there's no musical tracks to distract you from the story. And I think it explains that whole growing up aspect in a pretty emotional and surprisingly nuanced manner.
And I think the metaphor actually works, unlike perhaps this film, which we'll probably get into.
I guess we should just get stuck into it. I mean, I guess we've already established that this is not our favorite Pixar movie.
I mean, it's not the worst one, although I can't think of a worse one.
I haven't seen Cars or Dinosaurs.
Yeah, I guess.
Which is, I think it's universally known that those are the worst ones. I'm not sure. It was called The Little Dinosaur or something.
Okay.
And that just went by without any fanfare. I think
Cars are
fans
pretty
of
bad.
Pixar, Cars doesn't look very good. I think fans of Pixar generally say that Turning Red is not the worst.
Well, it seems to be pretty critically well received at the moment.
It's pretty generally well received as well,
but also a little bit polarizing, right?
Yeah.
Which we'll get into, I guess.
As I was saying, it's surprisingly controversial.
Yeah.
Because if you watch this movie, there's nothing controversial about this movie. But before we get into the controversy, do you just want to give a simple plot?
Yeah. So Canadian Chinese tween Mei Mei finds out that the women in her family are cursed with a spell that involuntarily turns them into a giant red panda if they experience any strong emotion. So I guess she's kind of like the Hulk, but she turns into a red panda if she feels any strong emotion on either side of the emotional spectrum. So not just anger, but like happiness, excitement, as well as anger. They all turn her into a red panda. And shenanigans ensue.
Yeah, well, I guess the basic plot point is that, she discovers these, this curse or blessing, whatever you want to call it, or interpret it by the end of the movie. But she just basically wants to go see this boy band called Four Town. And they would probably be reminiscent of, like, NSYNC.
Sure. If NSYNC was multiracial.
Yeah. I think, it would have been wider if they wanted to be a bit more accurate. But anyway,
it's fine.
So the movie, the backdrop is like the early thousands.
2002, I think, is what it said.
Yeah. So we thought it'd be a good idea to cover this movie because we do want to see the views go up again. We also there's definitely a lot of relevant themes in this movie.
Relevant to us, you mean?
Yeah.
As Asians living in a Western country, I guess.
So this movie is tailor-made for group members of subtle Asian traits.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's
that demographic, isn't it?
It is definitely that demographic. I think I've seen a fair few memes and references about this movie on that. I think the movie is a pretty genuine experience, though. It's Domi Shi.
Yeah, Domi
is
Shi.
The director, and she's a millennial as well, like us. I think she's
Canadian Chinese. Yeah.
So it's definitely I've definitely seen that aspect of people. I've definitely seen this personality of film in people. It's definitely I can see some of my friends in this movie.
For sure. I think it's a very genuine representation of that particular demographic, perhaps the director's demographic.
And as you said, worded very well, that particular demographic. I don't particularly find too much that actually, honestly, I connect with in this movie. I thought that the Asian stuff is a bit too Asian. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can kind of see what you mean. The fact that she lives and works at a temple is a bit, and she watches, I guess, Cantonese dramas with her mum. That's not us. We wouldn't have done any of that stuff. But
that's not our family.
I'm sure it's somebody.
Yeah. Actually, that's where I got this question for you here. So we just established that it's not the most authentic to us per se, but have you seen a movie that you think has really captured anything close to our childhood or your childhood specifically?
I would say this is pretty close. Maybe not to the same degree, in the sense that Mei Mei kind of has this duality. She has a mixed group of friends and experiences a pretty typical Western high school experience. But when she gets home, that's where kind of her heritage plays more of a part. The food she eats, her family duties, and the TV shows she watches.
Feel piety stuff. Yeah, that really plays a big part a lot in a lot of the, I guess, modern Western Asian productions. It's even a theme in The Farewell as well, I really love that movie. It's actually considered a pretty old-fashioned view now, especially post-World War II stuff, especially in Japan. There's a lot of the challenge films that kind of challenge that view. And especially, I mean, with Koreans, they're all too busy being oppressed by people that they've built up their Han, and they just want to get revenge on everyone. If I was going to say there was a movie that's really captured what growing up for us is it'd be Gran Torino.
Oh, Yeah.
Like watching the family, because they have like these food gatherings, where it's just a big family gathering, and then there's a lot of food, and there's a lot of the, people just walking around the house and just chatting with friends, and then it's basically the young kids who are like in the basement watching TV, and they're just playing games or whatever.
That's true.
And that kind of segregation, as like, I actually saw bits of my childhood in that movie. And it's funny that like who would have been like 60 or 70-year-old white dude like has got it the most close. I know we didn't have gangsters growing up and shit.
Right.
We weren't that West Side.
But it's probably more of a Southeast Asian experience.
Yeah. So I honestly think that's the closest.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
This movie, Turning Red, is probably a bit more Chinese than our growing up, for sure. I mean, that said, like, that kind of duality is there, and I think it's pretty well represented in this film. Probably more so the Western side of it than, the Chinese stuff. Like, I guess another film that kind of shows it pretty well is Bao, that short film from the same director. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. I heard it's really, really good though.
It's good. It's like, cute and it's moving, and it made me want to call my mum. I didn't because I'm a bad son, but it made me want to.
I feel like from what I've heard about Bao is that Bao probably sounds like the better movie than this one.
I think this is kind of like an expansion of Bao, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the same themes are kind of there, like the child's duty to their parents, I guess, and how we should appreciate our elders a bit more than perhaps we do. But then there's also like
I guess
parental
like the
figure,
rebellious side,
needing to let go at some point as well is that's there. It's definitely a more concise version of Turning Red.
I mean, did you like this movie? Like, what's your general thoughts? Yeah,
I think the vibe is good. Like, you can tell it's kind of very anime inspired, which I think has been a criticism with some people as well. Like, definitely the energy and the art style is fairly different to other Disney Pixar films, which I don't consider that a bad thing. But if you're a huge Pixar fan and you're looking for just another Pixar film, then I could see how it might be a bit jarring to watch this film. Like the speed of the characters' movements, like how just, I guess, obnoxious they all are. But I liked it. I dig all that. Like I said, I think the representation is pretty good. I think probably the main flaws for me were from the metaphor itself. I think it doesn't quite hold up. That's probably just more of a storytelling kind of thing than anything. But I had a fun time. I think it's a really fun movie. How about you? Did you like it?
I think this movie's okay. Like, it's weird. I definitely can see all the anime-inspired stuff. I can definitely see that it's quite a different direction from Pixar, the usual Pixar film. I do think that this is... it's a good movie, Like, the animation is good. The art style is clear. The time period is very, like, well shown. Like, it's, through the music, through the technology, through the...
They got Tamagotchis.
The fashion, Tamagotchis. But, I don't know, I kind of struggled to get into this movie. I watched this movie twice because I wanted to compare it to this other movie that I think I'd seen a reviewer compare it to, or kind of mention. It's an old Ghibli movie, not directed by Miyazaki, Whispers of the Heart, or Whisper of the Heart. Have you heard of that movie?
I have. I think I watched the first 20 or so minutes of it, and then
it's got
gave up on
it. It's got the famous lo-fi chill hop girl.
Right. Yeah.
That's where that image comes from. But I watched that movie, and like, that movie is a much better version of this movie. Okay. I think, like, because they tackle pretty similar themes. Because I was wondering, like, if I was watching Turning Red, like, why can't I relate to this movie? Is it because, like, I'm a 32-year-old dude, you know. But like, no, this movie is a millennial film. It's very millennial.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a Western country, so like I was just thinking like, why can't I really relate to this movie compared to let's say something like Belle or Whispers of the Heart, where they like take place with a completely different country. But I find myself like relating much more like to these other films.
Why do you think that is? It's interesting.
I think it is a storytelling thing. Because you just mentioned then that the story here and the metaphor collapses in the end of the movie, I think, which I want to get into a little bit later. But I just think this movie is very predictable. And I think it's a little bit too cartoony and goofy for my taste.
Sure.
I wasn't a huge fan of the art style, even though it was inspired by anime. I'd just go, I'd just watch anime instead. But like, I can acknowledge that for a lot of like Western Asian girls, because this movie is definitely geared towards
more for
girls.
women. Sure.
You can even see at the end of the movie, it's like this movie is dedicated to all our grandmas, mothers, and daughters.
Oh, is it?
So,
I didn't see that.
Fathers and sons, you can go fuck right off.
Well, now I feel alienated and annoyed.
But like, no. But honestly, like that's fine. Like I think you can make a movie that's like geared towards a specific gender. I won't go too much into that, a can of worms, but like with a movie like, let's say, like Belle or Whisper of the Heart, which is an awesome movie. I don't know why I didn't watch it earlier, but I just think that the themes are a bit more mature and it's a bit more quiet, I guess. Like there's not as much soundtrack.
It's not as goofy, I imagine, right?
There's not as much hand-holding with the story, especially when I was watching Whisper of the Heart today. Like it's a very low-stakes film. In fact, you could call it a no-stakes film. There's no antagonist. There's no greater force that's going to kill. It's quite literally a coming-of-age story just about growing up. But I'm just like, man, like this, I really like love this movie. Like the plot's quite thin and no one's really working towards anything. Like, I was like, man, this is good.
Is there more drama in it than this film?
There's drama, but it's very, very underplayed.
Okay.
It's
unlike Belle, I guess.
Yeah, it's way less dramatic than Belle. I think I'd like it more than Belle, just because it's just
more
such
subtle.
It's definitely a lot more subtle film. Going back to Turning Red, I think it's a very conventionally structured movie. It's like that hero's journey stuff. And I was talking to a friend recently about this movie, which this movie is tailor-made for. And I was surprised to hear her say that she thought that this movie was just okay. And I was like, really? Because like, I mean, this movie is made for you. And she just said, like it's pretty predictable. Like it's like nothing special.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, like what have you heard any opinions about this movie from like
I mean, I watched it with my partner, who I guess is kind of in the same demographic. But she just said it was okay as well. And I agree. I think it's just okay. I think it's not a heavy hitter. Like it's not like an Inside Out. And it's not even at the same emotional level as Soul, I reckon. It's more in the same vein as a Luca. It's just a light, breezy, fun time that happens to have this targeted message. But even if you can connect 100% to what May is going through, I don't think it's something that you're going to tear up over, I think. Although, like, I have read reviews where they're like, I cried throughout the whole thing or whatever. But, you know, like, I'm sure there are bits of it where, you know, the emotions are there if you are of that demographic. But, I just don't think it's, you know, a hard hitter. It's not Up. You know what I mean? It's
I definitely agree that this is not a heavy hitter.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though.
It's not. I think it's just for me, like personally, I'd like just a little bit more darkness,
a little bit more
maybe.
drama,
a little bit more drama, just a little bit more complexity. Because when I was taking notes for this movie, I kind of found myself not writing that much, like only half a page, because I couldn't really draw too much from this movie. What do you think about the because there's obviously exaggerated portions of like the Western Asian experience. Like there's obviously the tiger parenting. I thought it was a bit too much.
It's a bit too much. I mean, I'm sure there are mothers like that, but
yeah.
I mean, like her coming to school with a bunch of period pads and announcing to the world that May's got a period, that's like a bit unrealistic, I think.
I know we're talking about a film where a girl turns into a red panda.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like that bit is supposed to be grounded in reality. But it's just like too much, and even when she goes to the convenience store
and confronts Devin, or whatever his name is,
no one's gonna do that. Like no one's gonna fucking. Would be too cheap to waste the petrol to go down there and like tell some dude off.
Yeah,
you know?
I think the mum was a bit much. I think every other character though is pretty spot on, including Mei Mei herself. Like,
I like Mei Mei's character. Yeah, I think she's a fun character.
I think it's pretty accurate as well. Like there's a lot of repression going on, but it's like a realistic level of repression.
Yeah, it is actually pretty subtle. Like I actually quite liked the intro because when I watched it first time, I just thought it's a bit too much. But she's talking about being confident and being this and that. Where it's like, she's not really. Like, she's still bound to her mum. And I thought that was actually, like, well done.
Yeah, and she justifies it by saying, she doesn't want to disappoint her mum, of course, and, like, she enjoys doing these things, which, she probably does on some level. Yeah. I thought her character, her friends as well, I felt like they were like probably real people that the director knew at some point. Yeah.
I didn't like Abby.
Is that the Korean girl?
Yeah, it's the Korean girl.
She's pretty funny.
I think that character is just loud equals funny.
Yeah,
I was just like, nah. I didn't vibe with it. Like, yeah. But yeah, I thought the other friends were like pretty accurate. Like,
I like the Asian aunties. The group of Asian aunties I found is pretty realistic portrayal of Asian aunties. Yeah, actually,
that is because the way they dress, I'm like, I've definitely seen that.
Yeah,
and like very recently as well. Like, that's Asian aunties for you.
Yeah,
and then you got Michelle Yeoh. She's the Hollywood unimpressed mum of the she playing the grandma.
Yeah.
I like the dad's character, even though I don't think I've seen an Asian dad quite like that. Usually quite aggressive.
Yeah.
He's not like my dad, I would say.
Again, I think it's probably the Chinese side of it.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. There you go. It's a different side. But I liked his character.
He's good. I think he comes... they don't use him much, but he comes in at a very critical juncture of the movie. And plays a pretty big role in that way. Yeah, it's good. Good use of that kind of character, I think.
Actually, the thing I related to most in this movie is the not understanding the music tastes of each generation. I've definitely had that argument with my parents when I was growing up.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because like I was always like sneak listening to Eminem. I remember I wanted to buy the Offspring album, but they wouldn't let me buy it because it had warning explicit language written on the label.
Yeah.
I remember this is probably the closest thing to like a Mei's mum stalking outside the school or taking the diary to the boy at the convenience store story I have. But it's like I managed to convince my parents to buy me the Limp Bizkit album. Hot dog flavored water, chocolate starfish,
starfish, right? Yeah,
and then I remember this now. And then we listened to it together. I mean, barely got through the first song. If you remember that song, which basically says "fuck" every second word. Yeah, they were not happy with that. So yeah, I remember like crying my eyes out because I wanted to keep the album.
Did they take it from you?
Yeah, they took it, and we went the next day back to the store, and then we got another album the Mission Impossible 2 album.
Oh,
which is
also
actually
Limp
pretty good.
Bizkit.
Yeah, also Limp Bizkit. But it's funny because I convinced him to buy me the Korn Follow the Leader album, but it didn't have a sticker on it. So I was like, yeah, this is good. But I remember listening to it like, oh, there's a lot of swearing in this, but like I managed to keep it away from them.
And maybe that's why,
yeah.
like, I wouldn't say that your parents were particularly overbearing, right?
No, I wouldn't say so either.
Mine definitely weren't. Like, I got away with all kinds of shit when I was younger.
I mean, I think our parents were definitely, like, not overbearing, but there's definitely, like, you know, there was some strictness to them.
They were
parents
definitely, at the end of the day. My parents trusted me pretty probably a bit too much, to be honest. Like, my friends would come to my house to do, like, stuff that we probably shouldn't be doing. I remember, like, watching the South Park movie.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure I watched that at your place.
Yeah,
I remember watching it at your place for the first
I think
time.
I had it on DVD because,
It's because your brother borrowed it from the store or something.
Yeah, I guess it's a perk of having an older brother. You can kind of do that stuff. But yeah, like that part of the story, like I definitely know parents that are like that. But yeah, mine weren't. So I guess that didn't really resonate with me. I just, they were just kind of characters to me.
Because I've seen like some people who have said that, you know, that side is a bit too strong in this movie. Then people jumping down their throats and basically saying, well, I've had that happen to me, kind of thing. But like, I wonder if people are just being defensive to defend the movie. But no, it's definitely an interesting aspect. I wanted to talk about like the metaphor.
Should we just do a quick spoiler warning, I guess, before?
Yeah, let's do one. Yeah.
So I mean, if you haven't watched this film, it's on Disney Plus at the moment. I think it's worth a watch. Probably, I mean, at the end of the day, it's Disney Pixar, so you've got that kind of stamp of quality there, and you kind of know what you're going to be getting. Even though it is slightly different, I don't think it's hugely different to any other Disney Pixar film. It's definitely on the lighter side, so if you're looking for heavy feels, this is probably not the movie. It's just I think it's a good time.
I do think it's worth watching. It's definitely an easy watch, but I think there is enough good stuff in there to have you like think. Yeah,
you've got some boy band songs in there by Billie Eilish, written by Billie Eilish, so it's pretty good.
The composer for this is a pretty like popular dude.
I think the music's quite good. Again, it's kind of really good at getting that duality across. Like, you've got a lot of kind of contemporary tracks, but they'll have like these Asian percussion instruments in it.
The composer is Ludwig Göransson.
Okay.
I think so. He's worked with like Chance the Rapper and Alicia Keys, Haim, Travis Scott, if that guy still has a career. But he's done like the score for like the Mandalorian, Community, Creed. Okay. So he's pretty top tier in Hollywood at the moment. But anyhow,
good stuff. So we're going to be talking spoilers for this film now, because we're going to be talking about the metaphor that runs throughout the film. I guess
the controversial.
It's a
topic.
metaphor for puberty, right?
It's definitely the turning into the red panda is kind of a metaphor for like, you know, menstruation and whatnot, and that like kind of drew a lot of criticism, which I was really surprised by. Because I'm like, oh, like, you know, I mean, like, there's nothing offensive about this movie, but I remember some people were talking about like, oh, you know, when they decide they're trying to save money to go see Four Town. Yeah. It's like she's basically selling her puberty and sexuality. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, why are you thinking this when you're watching this movie? Like, are you serious? Like, I said this in the I don't remember which episode I said it, but I think like if you were, it was during the All of Us Are Dead season. Like, if you were thinking this when you're watching this movie, you've got issues, man. Like, dude.
Well, I think the criticisms seem to be coming more from overprotective parents, ironically.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I guess it's
yeah.
like it's a family film, right? At the end of the day, but I guess they kind of portray like these 13-year-old girls as quite horny, you know, and
it's just an honest depiction. Though.
Yeah, and that's what you kind of have to expect from a Pixar film. It's like not entirely for kids.
It's funny because I thought this is like, to me when I'm watching it, like this is like super childish. But then I kind of forget like the mum like mentions drugs, which I was like, oh okay, that's pretty edgy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forget that some people don't watch good stuff and then they just get offended by this shit. Like, and I'm like, man.
It's there, I guess. Like, probably our sensibilities are a bit different to the people making these complaints. But, you know, like stuff like her drawings that she does of that guy and, like, that whole scene where she goes under the bed and she's like getting
that scene is funny.
Really intense. It's funny.
I like the
it's meant to be
animations of that
funny.
scene.
Yeah, but
when
like,
she makes like the stupid face, it's really funny. I laughed. Yeah.
It is, but you know, for a certain group of people, I'm just probably. Can you show this movie to your 5-year-old kids? The answer is yes, because they won't get it anyway.
Yeah.
so
like, I don't know. Like, it's like, man, it's like. I just can't fathom being offended by this movie.
It is
I just can't. Yeah. I can't put myself in that shoes. Like, I'm sure there are people that would find this offensive. I mean, clearly we've seen people offended by it.
Sure.
I'm just like, how? Like when I'm watching this movie and I found out there was controversy. Like, how is this movie controversial? It's a pretty cute movie.
Yeah.
With a very simple story. And it's honestly a very honest depiction of growing up. They're like, you know, girls want to see guys.
Maybe
at that
it's a
age,
little
you know?
too honest, Tavi. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's a bit overly sensitive to be upset about this film. But yeah, I don't have kids, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
I feel like most of my friends would show this movie to their kids with no drama. At all.
There's enough fun in it to distract kids from anything that might be considered vaguely offensive. I don't know.
Yeah.
But my problem is with the inconsistency of the metaphor itself.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to lead to before.
So yeah, it's a metaphor for puberty, like you said. But is it though? Because
that's the thing. You're right, because the issue, and it's a story issue as well, because. Basically, the panda is something that she shouldn't be able to control. Just like, you know, I guess...
Like menstruation. Yeah. And emotions to an extent, I guess, is what, like mood swings and stuff.
It's kind of like a part of you, you know? And I think that's the metaphor that they were going for. And it's not something that you can control entirely. But she just, like, controls it, like, very easily. And then it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then in the end, it's like there's low stakes for her turning into the panda.
Yeah.
Because
there's like no
once it gets
downside
revealed,
to it.
it's just like, oh yeah, let's make money.
From doing it. Like, as soon as she's able to control it, and like she does it at will, it just reduces the stakes dramatically.
Because they introduced like a pretty interesting, like they were kind of foreshadowing that the panda was going to take over her, you know.
Yeah, the grandma says like every time she uses it, like it gets harder to revert or something like that, right?
But then it doesn't.
Yeah,
it's not. She
that scene where the grandma warns her comes directly before a scene where she goes to a party. And, like, for a little bit of the party, she's like, yeah, I won't do my panda because of what Grandma said. But then she just does it. And, like, I thought at that point maybe they'll be like, oh, no, she can't turn back to a human now. But then she just turns back to a human and it's fine.
And I feel like that maybe when she was writing it, she's like, no, that's too predictable. But it kind of, like, would have made more sense for the metaphor for her to not turn back. And maybe for the panda to be like a different character might have been an interesting path to explore, because it's basically the other metaphor that I maybe kind of saw was that like because the panda is basically supposed to be like the side of her that she banishes away, like the shame side of things.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, like, as people are getting upset about this movie being about periods and whatnot, it's because, like, that stuff is considered shameful when it shouldn't be.
Sure.
Because it's a part of life, you know. And I thought that, okay, like, you know, maybe she, like, maybe we'll have an argument with the panda, or the panda does, like, slowly over the film kind of, like, take control of May a bit more, and she manages to control it less. And I thought maybe there'd be, like, one point where maybe her friends piss her off to the point where, like, the panda comes out. Because, like, her coping mechanism is, I think of my friends,
right,
and then I can control the panda.
Yeah.
But it would have been interesting to see, like, maybe that doesn't work, and it's just something that you just can't control, but it's something that you can kind of learn to embrace, you know? Which is kind of what they were going for in the end, when they all turn into pandas. And then it's like, they have a choice whether they want to keep the panda or not. And then all the aunties are just like, no, we'll get rid of it. And it's like, so what have you been teaching me for the past hour and a half, you know? Like, yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, nah, like, yeah, you know, that stuff's a part of you. But then it's like, nah, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I thought, are they trying to say that, like, the older generation are just never going to change? I don't know.
Well,
like,
I guess they couldn't really dwell on the auntie's decision for that long, because it's not important at the end of the day. Like, But when I first watched it, I didn't really see it as a metaphor for puberty. I saw it more as a metaphor for, like, bottling strong emotions. How, you know, like in Asian culture, you know, we're not really encouraged to outwardly show any strong emotions, you know. We don't want to rock the boat or anything like that. That's kind of what I saw it initially. But even that isn't really consistent either. Because, I mean, the panda is just a visual representation of her emotions, Like, whether or not she seals it away in the amulet doesn't really affect anything. You know, if she seals it away, she's still got these emotions to deal with. It's not like she's sealing the emotions away.
So they're kind of just they're just rebottling their emotions. So it's like, I've let my emotions out. Now get back in there.
No, but they're not, though, because they still show those emotions. It's just that they don't turn into a panda every time they do. You know what I mean? Like, they're not getting rid of the emotions themselves. They're just getting rid of this visual representation of it. Which, and like, for her, she decides in the end not to seal it away. But, like, it's the same result, except that she can turn into a panda sometimes at will. So, it just isn't really it just doesn't fit that well. It doesn't really stick it. I think the ending scene is quite good if you ignore all of its flaws.
I actually liked the third act a bit more than the rest of the movie. I did like when she talks to her mother and she finds out, like, you know, much of the trauma or the way she acts is through that generational turmoil, generational gap thing.
Yeah.
Which I heard is like the main point of Encanto, which I haven't seen.
That's not a bad film.
I'm probably not going to watch it. Like,
probably a bit too musical for your taste, but
probably. With that being said, as well, as much as I liked that kind of emotional moment between May and her mother, I feel like they should have, like, showed a bit more of the mother and maybe not showed her as cartoonish, because, like, it would make sense for the mother to be that cartoonishly overbearing, like, post the panda. Because then it's like she has a reason to, like, keep an eye on her all the times. Whereas I think that happened a bit too early. It's really trying to ram down the tiger parent stereotype. At points in this movie, I was like thinking this is kind of like a smorgasbord for, like, white people to experience what they've heard about Asian people. That's kind of what I felt like. And I'm sure, like, you know, as I said, like, it's definitely from a personal experience of the director, but, like, it just kind of came off like that to me, especially with all, like, my film knowledge of watching these themes tackled in, like, just to me personally, a better manner. It kind of made me less interested while watching the movie.
Maybe it was forcing it a little bit, hey?
Yeah, I think so. But, like, I don't want to say that this movie is forcing it because it does come... I think it comes from somewhere genuine. But, like, it... Yeah, I can't lie and just say that I didn't feel that, because I definitely did feel it at points where I'm like, this vision is a bit too forced. Oh, you were saying before, like, they live at a temple.
Yeah.
They only eat, like, Chinese food. Like, only... Like, I know they want to showcase the culture, but, like, you can balance it a bit. Like, they can go eat Macca's or something. I mean, we went... Like, my parents made, like, spaghetti. They made... every fucking family makes spaghetti, but my parents made a lot of Western food growing up. But I know it's different because I know some of our Lao parents only cooked, like, Lao food. So it's a different experience.
I guess a big point of the film is to show this kind of Chinese-Canadian experience. So, yeah, I don't really blame them for, like, putting it all in. But I think it does make the film lose a bit of focus. Like you said, I think the mum definitely could have been a more fleshed out character if she wasn't as much of a caricature. Like, one of the more interesting scenes, I think, is when her dad is explaining, like, why her mum is so afraid of the panda. And how her mum kind of got ostracized because she ended up choosing her dad. And I was like, oh, that's good. I think they should kind of expand on that. But they didn't really expand on that. Even, like, when they meet each other in that bamboo forest and you do learn a bit more about the mum, you don't really learn about her relationship with the dad at all. So I thought that was a bit of a missed opportunity. And because, like, it can go a long way as to explaining why her mum is so overprotective because she had such a bad experience with her own panda. Yeah. But, yeah, it kind of took a back seat.
But I think it's also because it's, like, those kind of themes might be a bit too complicated for a kid's movie. But I think that's the mindset. It's like kids won't want to watch that. Like, there has to be, like, the balance of fun needs to tip more on the fun side, the scale. And it's definitely fun.
It is
but
fun,
it's kind of like, you know, I guess for people like us, like old snobby dudes, like, you know, it's like you kind of want something that's a little bit more rich. Sure. I guess it's like, and I know Pixar can do it because they've made movies like Inside Out and Soul that I'm too scared to watch.
I think it's trying to be there, but it's just a bit confused, I think. Yeah. And the message at the end is like, what is the message even at the end? You know, like you said.
It's like the Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, I guess
love conquers all.
Because at the end, she just, you know, she doesn't seal away the panda, and she just continues to use it as like a means for her temple to prosper, I guess.
Would you watch the sequel to Turning Red 2 if it explored the repercussions of using the panda too much? I'd probably watch it because I do like the character of May.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing May as a mum.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
And seeing like a Gen Z kid growing up.
Yeah, that's true. They could actually do that as well.
That would be definitely less relatable to me, but you know. Oh, I guess, like, maybe not, because, you know, we're getting to the age where probably we should start having kids. So, maybe that story... maybe that story might be worth exploring.
Actually, you bring up the point of millennials and Gen Z. Which generation do you think would appreciate this movie more?
Probably millennials, I'd say.
Yeah. It's funny, because this is a kid's movie, but I think it's made for millennials.
Well, it's made by a millennial.
There's sort of a controversy. There was basically this reviewer, I don't remember his name or the review site. I think he was basically like a white dude who was just saying like this movie, paraphrasing a bit, he's saying like, you know, the girls are really horny in this movie. They're the horniest people I've ever seen in a movie. The fact that the movie is centered on a 13-year-old Chinese-Canadian kid closes the scope of the film more so. And it's basically, he said, like, this movie seemed like it was made for Domi Shi and her friends. And it's, like, not for him. And then people, like, went up in arms to this guy. And they, like, they basically made him change. They removed the review, and then he apologized for it.
Wow, okay.
Like it's funny because I can kind of see both views, because like one view is that like he shouldn't have to apologize for his opinion because like that's his honest thoughts. But when I read the review, because like you're kind of writing film reviews as entertainment, you got to kind of come off as a bit smug. So I think like is kind of the tone of the review. It was a little bit elitist in a sense, like, no, I don't want to watch it. Kind of in a basic way, like kind of, I don't want to watch a movie about an Asian teenager because I'm a white guy. Yeah. I think that's what people saw.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. It's just it was just kind of funny. But like, yeah, you can't say anything bad about this movie. But
no, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's fine though. Like, yeah, I couldn't relate specifically to some of it, but I could definitely relate to parts of it.
Let's say non-Asian people, do you think they can relate to this movie?
I think so. I think it's not exclusive. Like, this group of characters is not exclusive to Asians growing up in a Western country. Like, you can get overbearing parents whatever race you are, you know? And like, I'm sure everybody has had an experience where they've really wanted to do something, but their parents haven't let them for whatever reason. Like, that's kind of just synonymous with childhood, right?
I definitely agree. I think anyone can relate to this movie. And I think that's the good thing about this movie, because it is very relatable to maybe a lot of people in that particular demographic that it's aimed to. The up-and-coming to millennials, to Gen Zs, maybe not to jaded Asian dudes like us. This is the kind of movie that is called like my girlfriend forced me to watch movie kind of thing. That's why I label these kind of movies.
We'd be like, why wasn't May just punch her mum and go to the concert anyway? Why don't you just do that?
For me, it's kind of like, oh, let's watch this movie. It's like, nah, that looks too depressing. It's like, oh, okay, let's watch this. It's like, yeah, whenever we hang out with your partner, aka the tester, so that's like the key words. Where it's like, no, it was always like nothing too art house Tavi. Like, oh.
Yeah, I think this film is quite crowd pleasing. I think it's a enjoyable film. I don't think it deserves any controversy because it's like not even, it's not even that heavy. It's not worth arguing about. It's just a decent Disney Pixar film.
I want to gather like all those people that were offended by this movie and just show them like something like,
truly offensive.
If I showed them like Forest of Love or like Old Boy, gonna have I feel like I would open the room and there would just be like these burnt out skeletons,
like the Ark of the Covenant. I guess to summarize my thoughts on this film, like, I mean, there are plot points and inconsistencies. There are flaws in it. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a Disney Pixar film. They're pretty good in general. I haven't seen Cars, so I mean, that's probably bad. It looks bad. But in general, Disney Pixar films are quite entertaining. They tell a really good line of entertainment and somewhat heavy feels, This one's probably more on the entertainment side than the heavy feel side. I do enjoy the movies that are a bit heavier more, I guess, like your Inside Outs and your Ups. But this was fun. I think it was a fun time.
I guess to summarize my thoughts on this movie, look, it's one of those movies that I know is good and that will connect with a lot of people, but I didn't particularly love it. I like it, but it's kind of like, I would just rather watch something else. Maybe something a bit heavier or just a bit more subtle, a little bit less in your face, like I was talking about Whisper of the Heart more so. Or maybe there was another Ghibli movie that they compared it to, or it has been compared to, like Only Yesterday is just a much more like subtle movie, and it like explores all these themes of like kind of like having overbearing parents and growing up and liking boys, but I guess in just a manner that like I can relate to my childhood, and I can even relate to in my adulthood as well.
Yeah.
I can just like see a lot of these themes being resonating.
Yeah, I think like, I don't know, because when I first watched it, like I said, I saw the metaphor more of like bottling of strong emotions. And I asked my partner, like, do you think this film would have been better if it was a Japanese person rather than a Chinese person? Because like, in my experience anyway, Chinese people don't really bottle their emotions as much as Japanese people. You know what I mean?
That's actually very true. I think, yeah. I'm just thinking maybe it's the Chinese American or Chinese Canadian.
I mean, you know where the money is, so obviously it's going to be more. You know, it's more profitable for the characters to be Chinese. But I feel like maybe it would have made more sense in that respect if it was a Japanese character, because you know they have more of a well-known trait of like bottling emotions and wearing a pretty thick mask.
Yeah, I wonder that too.
Something that crept into my mind. But yeah.
I think that's all I've got to say about this movie.
Well, what did you think about this movie, Turning Red, guys? Didn't you enjoy it? Do you think, is it your favorite Disney Pixar film, or is it the worst thing you've ever seen? Let us know. You can get in touch with us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com. Or you can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram at twoasianblokes if you want to see what we're up to.
Yeah, no, Turning Red. Turning Red is a good movie.
Yeah. I reckon watch Luca instead, though.
Yeah, maybe. I'm probably not gonna watch Luca. I'm definitely gonna watch Soul at some point when my mental stability is.
Soul is strong. Good. Soul is good. I would recommend watching that before either of those films, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for listening, guys.
All right, we're signing off.
All right, bye bye.
See ya.